Welcome. In this video, we will read and reflect on three significant historical texts that shaped the early Christian understanding of the role of women in the Church. These writings, scriptural and patristic, reflect not only theological convictions, but also the cultural and ecclesiastical context of their time. Let us begin with a reading from the New Testament, the first epistle to Timothy. The first epistle to Timothy is traditionally attributed to the Apostle Paul. Written to guide the life and order of early Christian communities, it includes instructions on worship, leadership, and conduct. This passage has become one of the most frequently cited in discussions about women's roles in church leadership.
Let a woman learn in silence with all submission. And I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man, but to be in silence.
This text reflects a structured vision for church order, rooted in the social norms of the time. While it affirms a woman's right to learn, a radical idea in itself, it also restricts her public voice and authority within the church community. This dual tone of inclusion and limitation would echo throughout the early church. Tertullian, writing around the year 200 in North Africa, was one of the earliest and most influential Latin theologians. In De Baptismo, he addresses the practices surrounding baptism and directly opposes the idea of women administering the sacrament, referencing the legendary female teacher and martyr, Thecla.
But the woman of pertness, who has usurped the power to teach, will of course not give birth for herself, likewise to a rite of baptizing, unless some new beast shall arise like the former. So that, just as the one abolished baptism, so some other should in her own right confer it. But if the writings which wrongly go under Paul's name claim Thecla's example as a license for women's teaching and baptizing, let them know that in Asia, the presbyter who composed that writing, as if he were augmenting Paul's fame from his own store after being convicted and confessing that he had done it from love of Paul, was removed from his office. For how credible would it seem that he who has not permitted a woman even to learn with overboldness should give a female the power of teaching and of baptizing? Let them be silent, he says, and at home consult their own husbands.
Tertullian's words reflect strong resistance to any idea of female ecclesiastical authority. His argument is not only theological, but polemical, rejecting apocryphal traditions and defending a strict interpretation of apostolic order. For him, the role of women was to remain under male instruction and supervision, even in their spiritual growth. Epiphanius, bishop of Salamis in the 4th century, was a defender of orthodoxy and opponent of heresies. In The Well-Anchored Man, he comments on church order and the place of women, distinguishing between the ordained male clergy and the role of deaconesses.
Successors to the bishops and presbyters in the house of God were appointed by the bishop of Jerusalem and by other bishops. No woman was appointed among them. If it were determined that women should become priests or have any canonical function in the Catholic Church, then Mary herself, if anyone, should have administered as a priest in the New Testament. Even she was not permitted to baptize. To be sure, there is an order of deaconesses in the Church. Its purpose is not that women be priests or do any type of official liturgical work. Deaconesses exist to preserve the modesty of the female sex, either when women are baptized or when there is a question of examining the sick or the suffering, so that a woman's naked body may not be seen by men administering the holy rites, but only by the deaconess appointed by the priest, who will attend the woman when her garments are removed. The prescription as to modesty is the result of a purposeful rule, one determined by church discipline and by the canons. Wherefore the Scriptures do not allow a woman to speak in church or to exercise authority over men.
Epiphanius presents a formal distinction. Women may serve, but only in roles that preserve modesty and assist male clergy. Even the Virgin Mary, he argues, was not granted liturgical authority. The presence of deaconesses reveals both the Church's practical need for women's service and its firm limits on their spiritual authority. These texts, drawn from the first 4 centuries of Christianity, provide a window into how the early Church sought to define the roles of women, often with clarity, sometimes with controversy. They reflect a Church navigating order, tradition, and evolving practice within a patriarchal world. While women were valued for their faith, service, and modesty, their authority was restricted within a structure that reserved leadership for men. And yet, behind these regulations, there remains a quiet tension between restriction and inclusion, between discipline and inspiration, between what was practiced and what might yet emerge. May these readings not be taken merely as commands from the past, but as starting points for reflection, dialogue, and understanding of the Church's long and complex journey with women.